If you think your silence is what hurts her the most, you've already misunderstood the game, because the truth is, there's something far more powerful than disappearing, and almost no man is emotionally disciplined enough to do it. I'm going to tell you something most men never hear, not from their fathers, not from their friends, not even from dating coaches. Silence is dramatic, it's visible, it's a strategy. It says, look at me, I'm gone. And yes, no contact can create space. It can reset power, it can trigger curiosity. But here's what you don't understand about female psychology. Women don't fear your absence nearly as much as they fear your emotional detachment. Silence still carries emotional energy. When you go no contact, but inside you're obsessing, checking her stories, replaying conversations, hoping she feels your absence, you are still emotionally available. And women sense that. A woman doesn't just respond to your actions, she responds to your emotional state. You can be silent and still emotionally loud, and that is why some men go no contact for 30, 60, 90 days, and she moves on peacefully, because energetically you never left. What hurts more than silence is indifference born from self-respect, not fake indifference, not performative coldness, not bitterness disguised as strength. I'm talking about the kind of emotional shift where you genuinely stop needing her validation to feel whole. That's what unsettles her. Here's why. When a woman feels that you are emotionally dependent on her attention, she feels safe, even if she pulls away, even if she tests you, even if she explores options. She knows somewhere deep inside that she still occupies your emotional center, but when you stop orbiting her emotionally, when she senses that your world no longer revolves around whether she texts back, something changes. Her nervous system feels it. Because attraction in long-term dynamics is tied to uncertainty and respect. If she feels she completely understands your emotional attachment, the mystery fades. The polarity softens. The tension dissolves. Most men think pain creates attraction. It doesn't. Strength does. And strength is not loud. It's not angry. It's not reactive. It's composed. Stoicism, when practiced correctly, is not about suppressing emotion. It's about mastering it. The ancient philosopher Marcus Aurelius wrote about controlling your internal world because it is the only true domain you own. And in relationships, this is everything. When you react impulsively, long messages, emotional ultimatums, dramatic exits, you communicate instability, even if your pain is justified. But when you respond with grounded calm, when you withdraw investment quietly and redirect it toward your purpose, your health, your growth, you create psychological contrast. She expected you to chase. She expected you to protest. She expected you to break. When you don't, her internal narrative fractures, and that fracture creates emotional tension. Women are deeply intuitive about shifts in attention. When your attention moves inward toward your mission, your fitness, your finances, your discipline, she feels that she is no longer the emotional prize, and that, more than silence, disrupts her certainty. Certainty kills attraction. Let me be clear, this is not about manipulation. It's about alignment. If she pulls away and you respond by improving your body, sharpening your mind, strengthening your social circle, not to make her jealous, but because you refuse to collapse, you win regardless of outcome. And paradoxically, that's when she feels it, when she sees you glowing without her, when mutual friends mention your progress, when she senses you are emotionally steady, not resentful. That hurts more than being ignored, because silence can be a tactic, but growth is permanent. And deep down, women are attracted to men who evolve under pressure. The man who crumbles under emotional stress feels unsafe. The man who sharpens under it feels rare. You don't need to announce your transformation. You don't need cryptic quotes. You don't need to post gym selfies to send a message. Your energy shifts first. The rest follows. And once she feels that you are not emotionally hostage to her attention, the dynamic changes. You stop being predictable. You stop being controllable. You become self-contained, and self-containment is magnetic. This is where most men fail. They think distance is the weapon. It's not. Emotional sovereignty is when she realizes that losing you does not destroy you. That's when she begins to feel the weight of losing you, and that weight is heavier than your silence ever was. There's a moment most men never notice. It's the moment she realizes you're no longer reacting, not ignoring her, not blocking her, not trying to prove a point, just unmoved. And that moment disturbs her far more than your absence ever could. You see, when you go silent but remain emotionally charged, she can feel it. There's tension in your energy, a silent protest, a waiting, a hope that she notices. But when you reach a place where her delayed reply doesn't spike your heart rate, where her mixed signals don't send you into analysis, where her validation is no longer your emotional oxygen, something shifts in the psychological field between you. Women are highly attuned to emotional leverage. If she senses she can still affect your mood, she still holds power. If your happiness fluctuates based on her attention, she remains central. But when your emotional baseline stabilizes, when you wake up focused, train your body, pursue your goals, build your network, and sleep peacefully regardless of her behavior, you remove the leverage. That's when uncertainty enters her mind. And uncertainty in attraction dynamics is powerful. Understand this clearly. Women do not fall for men who need them. They bond deeply with men who choose them. Neediness feels heavy. Choice feels empowering. When you detach from outcome, truly detach, not pretend, you begin operating from abundance rather than fear. And fear is the silent destroyer of masculine presence. A man afraid to lose her becomes careful, overly accommodating, hyper-aware of her tone shifts. He adjusts himself constantly. He softens opinions. He over-explains. He apologizes for emotions he shouldn't apologize for. She may not consciously analyze it, but she feels it. And slowly, attraction erodes. But when you stand emotionally steady, when you can listen without collapsing, disagree without anger, walk away without drama, you communicate internal security. Internal security is rare. Most men oscillate between over-pursuing and withdrawing in bitterness. That inconsistency creates instability, and instability creates emotional fatigue. Stoicism is different. It's not coldness, it's not apathy, it's emotional regulation. The philosopher Epictetus taught that you cannot control external events, only your response to them. In modern relationships, this is everything. You cannot control her attraction cycles. You cannot control her curiosity about other options. You cannot control her moods, her timing, her readiness. But you can control whether you react with desperation or composure. And composure changes how she perceives you. Imagine this scenario. She pulls back slightly, texts less, seems distracted. The average man immediately senses threat. He increases effort, sends longer messages, asks if everything is okay, seeks reassurance. Subtly, he communicates fear of loss. Now imagine you notice the same shift. But instead of reacting impulsively, you observe, you continue your routine. You remain warm but measured. You invest where investment is reciprocated. You don't overextend. You don't punish. You don't chase. You simply recalibrate your energy. This recalibration does something profound. It forces her to feel the space you created, not because you vanished, but because you withdrew excess investment. Women are deeply responsive to emotional contrast. When your attention was abundant and now becomes selective, she feels the shift. And selective attention feels valuable. Here's the psychological truth most men resist. When you stop trying to win her, you become harder to lose, because you are no longer competing for her approval. You are evaluating whether she aligns with your standards. That subtle reversal changes the power dynamic. Instead of asking, "How do I get her back?" you begin asking, "Does she still deserve access to me?" That mindset shift radiates differently. Your tone changes, your posture changes, your patience increases, your anxiety decreases, and she senses it. When she sees that you are no longer emotionally scrambling to secure her, she experiences something unexpected, the possibility of losing a man who is calm, grounded, and improving. Not a reactive man, not a dramatic man, but a stable one. Stability with strength is rare, and rarity creates value. This is why emotional indifference born from self-respect cuts deeper than silence. Silence can be broken with a text, but genuine detachment cannot be easily reversed. Once she feels you emotionally stepping into your own center, no longer orbiting her, she must decide whether she steps closer or watches you drift beyond reach. And that tension, it lingers far longer than your quiet ever could. Let me tell you something uncomfortable but necessary. Most men misunderstand what makes a woman reevaluate a man she once took for granted. It's not begging. It's not explaining your value. It's not reminding her of the history you shared. It's behavioral change that is consistent enough to break her expectations. When you stay the same man emotionally, even after disappointment, she subconsciously categorizes you as predictable. Predictability kills curiosity, and curiosity is the engine of attraction. You can go silent for weeks, but if the moment she shows interest again, you instantly return to the same approval-seeking patterns, the same reassurance loops, the same emotional dependency, then nothing truly shifted. She learns one powerful lesson about you. Your distance is temporary. Your growth is not real. That realization removes respect. And without respect, attraction collapses over time. What hurts more than silence is transformation. When she expects the version of you who tolerated confusion, tolerated mixed signals, tolerated disrespect, and instead she meets a grounded man who responds differently, that creates psychological shock. Not aggression, not revenge. Change. You stop over-explaining. You stop over-pursuing. You stop negotiating your standards just to keep her comfortable. You communicate clearly once. If behavior doesn't align, you adjust your access. That calm boundary sends a stronger message than emotional confrontation ever could. Women respect men who respect themselves, and self-respect is shown through actions, not speeches. There's a powerful psychological effect at play here. When a woman loses access to predictable emotional reassurance from you, but instead sees you moving forward, improving your body, upgrading your mindset, expanding your social world, her brain begins recalculating your value. She may not admit it, she may even resist it, but internally she compares. Is this the same man, or did I underestimate him? Comparison activates attraction, especially when she sees you thriving without trying to convince her. The key distinction here is intention. If your growth is performed to manipulate her back, she senses it. If your growth is for your own stability, it radiates authenticity, and authenticity is powerful. Think about how powerful emotional stability feels in chaotic situations when everything around you feels uncertain, but one person remains calm and controlled. You naturally gravitate toward that person. That's how leadership works. That's how attraction deepens. The ancient teachings of discipline and inner control, described by thinkers like Seneca, emphasized mastering impulses and responding with deliberate action rather than emotional reaction. In relationships, impulse is chasing, impulse is reacting to fear of abandonment, impulse is sending the second text before receiving a reply, discipline is waiting, discipline is observing. Discipline is responding strategically or not responding at all, when silence communicates more than words. Here's something most men miss. When she sees you emotionally unaffected by her temporary withdrawal, she tests you. She might reappear casually. She might send a memory-based message. She might drop subtle signals to see if your boundaries still stand. This is not coincidence. It's assessment. She is checking whether your transformation is stable or situational. If you instantly soften, you fail the test. If you maintain composure while remaining warm and firm, you pass. And passing doesn't mean winning her back immediately. It means earning respect again. Respect rebuilds attraction gradually. Desperation destroys it instantly. So focus on becoming the man who doesn't need to announce growth because it's visible in how you speak, how you move, how you respond, and how you let go when necessary. That transformation is what truly shakes her perception. Because silence can be copied, but self-evolution cannot be faked long-term. And when she realizes the man she thought she understood has evolved beyond the version she left behind, that realization lingers deeply in her thoughts, long after the conversation ends. Now let's bring everything together, because this is where most men finally understand the real power move. You don't win by trying to control whether she misses you. You win by becoming a man whose absence creates contrast. Not because you disappeared dramatically, but because your presence was once meaningful and now it is reserved. That difference matters. Many men confuse punishment with power. They withdraw angrily. They block impulsively. They ignore to hurt. That is emotional retaliation, and it still centers her. True power is quieter. You withdraw attention when it is not matched. You invest energy where respect exists. You detach from outcomes that depend on someone else's mood, and you redirect your focus toward your mission, your body, your financial independence, your social circle, and your personal growth. When a woman sees that your life continues with or without her participation, something shifts inside her perception of you. You are no longer a man trying to keep her. You are a man building regardless. That difference is massive. Psychologically, humans value what is stable but hard to access. If you are always available, always answering, always forgiving without accountability, your presence loses weight. But if access to you feels earned through consistency and mutual effort, you become emotionally significant again. Let me be clear about something important. This approach is not about manipulating emotions. It is about reclaiming self-respect after emotional imbalance. Healthy relationships require reciprocity. If she invests, you invest. If she withdraws permanently, you accept and move forward. What hurts more than silence is seeing the man she once underestimated rise without resentment. That rise is powerful because it removes emotional dependency from the equation. And dependency is what quietly weakens attraction over time. When you operate from abundance, you communicate this message without saying a word. I'm complete with or without you, and I choose wisely. That mindset transforms how women respond to you. Some may return with deeper appreciation. Some may observe from a distance. Some may never come back, and that's fine, because your value is not determined by who stays. It is determined by who you become. Think about the strongest version of you. He is calm. He sets boundaries. He does not argue for attention. He does not chase validation. He engages when alignment exists. That version of you is far more attractive than the man who reacts emotionally to every shift. And here is the final truth. If she ever feels that losing you would create real absence, not just physical absence, but emotional and experiential absence, then she understands your worth. But for her to feel that, you must first believe it. Confidence is internal before it becomes external. So I want you to reflect on this equation. Ask yourself, am I reacting to her behavior or am I responding from my standards? Write your answer in the comments below. If this message challenged you, hit like so more men who need strength hear it. Subscribe for deeper psychological insights on relationships and self-mastery, and share this with a friend who needs to stop chasing and start building. Remember, what hurts more than silence is becoming the man she realizes she underestimated too late.